All right, everyone, welcome to It's 5 o'clock somewhere. We're coming to you live from Sacramento, California at Crew. Today's episode is brought to you by Broken Shed Vodka, and it's all about Moscow Mules and other bucks. So I'm going to let the guys take it away from here.
Hey, Chad.
Yeah.
What the buck?
Hey, Chris.
Hey.
What do you call a bear with no teeth?
What?
Gummy bears.
Obviously.
That's the best I got for a dad joke.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to 5 o'clock somewhere. I am Chris Leclerc with my host, Chad Brown.
We are Fluid Concepts.
Woo!
Welcome.
Obviously, our concepts are fluid because they don't always work. And so, like today, we're running a little late. So thanks for bearing with us as much as you have.
Yes.
Fluid Concepts is a dope idea to get homies paid. Really, it started off as an event and consulting company, and the project quickly changed as the world turned into chaos. So our entire purpose now is to get the homies paid. Everybody who's out of work, who's part of the industry, we are coming up with content in order to just try to help as many people and industry professionals who have something to give and they don't have the option to be behind the bar right now. So we're trying to do that. So, but today is 5 o'clock somewhere.
It is 5 o'clock somewhere. During this live class, we try to make it feel like you're kind of at a bar, 5 o'clock somewhere. Today we're at the beautiful Crew, and we're going to be making some Moscow Mules and Kentucky Buck and Angostura Buck.
That's right, man. Because it's really hot out. It's not as hot as it was like the last 2 weeks, but it's still pretty warm outside. But today we've got guests. We've got the brand ambassador for Broken Shed. Everybody, round of applause.
Jay.
Thank you, guys.
This is Jay Denny.
Nice to see you. How you doing?
Hi.
Don't touch me, bro.
Whoa,
Yeah,
sorry,
jeez.
COVID holidays. Luckily, what we're going to bring today helps with that.
It will. It's going to kill everything.
It
gonna
will.
be great.
I'm excited.
So, Mr. J, just tell us a little bit about Broken Shed product. It's a wonderful, wonderful vodka.
Sure. Sorry.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
It's a vodka from New Zealand, actually. It is made from whey, which is a very unusual source.
Seaway.
See, mucho whey. What they do actually is they recycle dairy byproduct and they distill it and then they blend it with 2 New Zealand waters and make a really interesting vodka. What the whey does is it's fermented from lactose, which is best described, I guess, as a protein that you find within milk, and it contains sugar, and there's enough sugar in there to ferment it. So it gives the vodka a little to no ethyl alcohol burn, and it gives it a creamy mouthfeel and texture.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. And by all means, anybody out there in the peanut gallery, you guys have questions either for us or for Jay at any point in time, chime in, and Jordan's going to let us know. But I have a question for you.
Sure.
What is the history of whey spirits, to the best of your knowledge?
Sure. So
Like he's reaching for his book.
I have a little notebook. I actually did a little studying for this class. So milk has actually been used as a alcohol base since, almost like kind of the beginning of time when humans started to, raise cows and sheep and other things like that. They've always kind of, it's been a symbiotic relationship, specifically in Eurasia way back when. 2 specific examples that I found kind of going down that little rabbit hole, because I knew you were going to ask me some questions. Kumis is actually the very first whey spirit.
What is kumis?
Kumis is actually...
Wait, like kumis like cumin, or like kunis like Mila Kunis?
No, kumis.
Kumis.
Kumis, or sometimes spelled Kumys.
Okay.
It is actually fermented from whey, and it's made primarily from mare's milk. So,
interesting.
Like horses.
Yeah.
And
They said bear.
I heard bear first, but then I realized.
Well, bear.
First of all, you got to wrestle the bear,
and
and you got to milk
Is
it.
there ancient times? I don't know what they did back then.
And so what they did was is they made a beverage, a fermented beverage, because they left it out in the sun, and the natural sugars mixed with yeast from the air, and it made a low alcohol beverage, roughly like 3.5 to 4% alcohol, and it was kind of like what beer drinkers would associate with like a farmhouse ale, because it was inoculated with natural yeast, it fermented, and it just became something super refreshing in hot days. Well, what they actually found using kumis as well was a natural preservative. So they would actually put like salmon and other things in it as well, and all you'd have to do is keep adding fresh kumis to it, and it literally stayed as a preservative.
That's
So-
really cool. Like it's like
pickling.
or like milked salmon or milked fish.
Yeah.
And then
That's what I mean.
another example of like a milk-based spirit is actually called Bland. It's Bland, and it was discovered by like the Scandinavian population. It was believed to have traveled from like Norway down to Scotland at some point as well, and that is made of primarily cow's milk because it's a bit higher in sugar content. And what that type of beverage was similar to like the kumis, where you would find that in like the Middle East. Same kind of thing throughout like northern part of Europe, where it was much colder. And what they actually did was they drank it warm, and it was almost more like a wine in a sense, like where you have honey that makes mead. They were using milk to make this as well. So, you know, using milk as a spirit base has actually been around for a really, really, really long time. Now fast forward to the 19th century, 1940s, it actually they actually started doing a lot of research on it. And over the next 30 or so years, they actually came up with something that is called the Carberry method. And it is different than traditional fermentation in the sense that when you are fermenting, say you're trying to make bourbon, for example, you have to make a mash and cook it and to get the sugars going. Well, since whey has been already separated and contains natural sugars from the casein that is found in the grass that the animal eats, you don't have to do that. That's like the biggest differentiation. So whey actually comes out warm, and they have to keep it at temperature, or else as it falls below a certain temperature, from what I understand, it becomes unusable.
Sure.
So in order to get it down to a specific level to be able to distill it, they actually have to cool it. I could not find that exact temperature.
Sure.
But that's what differentiates the two processes. And then what the Carberry process does is they take the clarified whey that has removed any of the proteins, the minerals, anything acids remaining, and you're left just with pure lactose at that point. And there's no need for cooking, as I said. And then they bring the temperature down, and then they actually have this specific yeast. You can't just take like traditional beer yeast or something because it's still too acidic for them to be able to ferment it. I wrote down the name. I'm going to do my best to say it, but it is Cultivaromyces marxianus.
That sounds pretty good. I mean, that sounds better
And
than I can do.
it is a lactose fermenting yeast, and once you finish fermenting yeast, you still get something very similar to like the same alcohol in kumis, which is about 2 to 3% alcohol. So it doesn't make a lot of alcohol with the remaining lactose. But what it does do is allows for you to take multiple stages of that, and actually they can multiply the alcohol on top of each other. So that's how you then get it to the distillation point of wanting to make it to like a vodka. So it almost kind of like building blocks. You take 3%, you add another 3%, and you keep going. And that's the Carberry method. That is the kind of alternate method to handling whey. And if you want to get more into the science, I actually have some really cool articles that I can share with these guys a little bit later that I found fascinating, because I didn't know a whole lot about this process, but it was really, really interesting.
That'd be great. Yeah, I think we can probably we can
And,
add this to our social medias.
What is really cool though about whey is more than anything, I think the biggest beneficiary from using it is it's sustainable. Whey is actually a really, really huge problem in the dairy world. I mean, just the state of Oregon alone, which has the most creameries per capita in the US, has about 2.7 billion tons of whey that they have to get rid of every year.
Damn.
You really did some research
And
there.
I had
So,
no idea it was that
yeah.
much. That's crazy.
That's a lot.
there's not a whole lot you can do with it. It either gets turned into whey protein, but you're still left over with the acid and the aminos and the lactose. It gets put into pig feed or cat food to up the protein levels.
Sure.
Or it just gets thrown away. They throw it to the landfill. It ends up in rivers, lakes, streams. And so, again, there's not a whole lot you can do with it. But back to this kind of whole process is certain countries of the world, such as New Zealand, where Broken Shed is from, and the UK, and Australia, Tasmania, and even parts of Canada, have started kind of recycling all of this and started making whey-based spirits.
Neat.
And so they're not something you find very commonly, but they are starting to grow in popularity due to the fact that they use a bunch less energy, a bunch less water, and you're already having something that is a byproduct. So, and people love cheese. I mean, as you can tell, I do.
I sure do too.
Cheese
Jay,
is life.
I'm going to have you make our first drink, but before we do, we're going to break into this box. I know everybody's really excited about what we got going on today. So let's look at this. Okay, first, foremost, we got our Broken Shed Vodka. You hold that. Make it look
You
good.
stand there.
Also, courtesy of Broken Shed, we have our mule mugs. These are dope. These are actually really sexy. These aren't going to tarnish like the like
No, they're
faux
ionized.
copper ones.
They're an ionized paint.
That's
so. I wouldn't recommend putting them in the dishwasher.
No, you
They
hand
last
wash.
longer, but still hand wash them.
We've got our recipe card. Take that. You're going to need that, so keep that handy. Ginger beer. Keep that handy as well. That's going to go into every single one of our drinks. We got orgeat. That's going into our final drink. That's going off to the side. We've got Angostura. That's in our final drink. That's going off to the side. We've got a little bit of bourbon. That's in our second drink, also going off to the side. We have pickled ginger. We can keep that right up front, and we have our dehydrated strawberries, so we can keep that right up front. As well, we have jam, courtesy of old Chad Jam over here.
Jam is preserve-ish type of goodness of strawberry.
Yeah,
Nice.
That makes sense.
we got a straw, so use that as you see fit. We got limes, lemons, boom. We're gonna keep those right up front too, and we got simple syrup.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For those of you following along at home, make sure you got your tools ready to go. This one's pretty simple, so you won't really need much. A jigger if you do want to measure it, but again,
Sorry, what?
jigger
Jiggle what? Sorry,
got me.
could not look that
Anyways,
one
you're
up.
at home, so make it as strong as you want, but we're gonna go by the recipe card there and kind of measure it out. So here you go, Jay.
All right.
All right, so again, this follows our classic sour recipes that we've been dealing with, our 2-1-1. Now we've altered some of those that formula up just a little bit, as you'll notice. It doesn't translate exactly. What we've gone with is the recipe that Chad and I have agreed with, that we both really enjoy. It seems to translate really well into this drink. But a Buck style drink, as is the Moscow Mule, originated from a sour recipe, adding ginger beer onto it, which gives it a little kick. Get it? Buck, kick. There you go. Okay. So what you're gonna want to do is get your jigger ready, or your measuring tool, whatever it is that you're using. If you don't have a jigger, you can use a shot glass. Shot glass works great. Or I'd give it, like, if you're just free pouring, I would give it like a 3 glug. 3 glug?
Yeah.
3 glug.
Glug.
Yeah. Like
Yeah.
a 3
I
glug
like it.
pour seems appropriate
We
to
measure
me.
in sound effects here sometimes.
I like that.
So,
It just
I can measure in
translates
3
better
glugs if you'd like.
on the camera.
Would you prefer me to use the jigger or 3 glugs?
Let's do 3 glugs. Why the fuck not?
Let's see what 3 glugs sounds like on the camera.
There we
all right.
go, okay.
Here we go. We're
Ready?
gonna do
Drum
3
roll, please.
glugs of Broken Shed vodka from New Zealand. 1, 2, 3.
perfect.
Those were like fast glugs, so it's
They're
not your
fast.
fault. It was like 6 half glugs.
Okay, so it's like glug.
Yeah. So it's
Okay.
not your fault.
It's like the sound my car makes when I start it.
Okay, next we're gonna need some lime juice. So we got to cut this bad boy. But actually, instead of ruining Billy's,
Here.
there you go, right there on the metal. All right, now if you don't have a squeezer, which we actually don't have a squeezer, you can use it by hand. You want to put your hand under it like Jay's doing, so that you capture any seeds. It's not the most clean thing to do, but it's
Sorry.
yours, so
Yeah.
who cares?
COVID gets
Yep.
in the way of things.
It's yours,
so.
Yep.
right?
In this case, though, we did half an ounce
Yep.
of lime juice, which usually for a really juicy lime like this one should just be half a lime. So we're good.
Yep.
That should be just fine.
All right.
Then we need our simple syrup. Now I'm going to ask Jay. We wanted 3/4, so maybe we'll give a little extra squeeze.
Little extra
I
squeeze.
apologize. I'm going to do this just to. There you go. That looks like 3/4. Perfect.
That works.
Okay, now we're going to do half an ounce. So I'm going to ask Jay to use his jigger on this one.
Yeah.
Now this jigger is graduated on the inside. If you don't have one, if you have, again, a shot glass, typical shot glass is like 2 ounces. So you go 1/4, you should be good.
All right. Into the vodka lime juice mixture.
All right, now here we get talking about ice, and for me, crushed ice has always sort of been an issue with this drink, mostly because most bars that I've worked in don't have crushed ice machines.
Sure.
And if you do, they're loud, they're obnoxious, they break the ambiance. If you're at home, you have a few different options. You can take ice, put it into, like, wrap it up into like a kitchen towel,
Yeah.
and like slam it on the bar top. You can take like a wooden spatula and try
Yeah.
to break it, but ice is hard, so it really depends on the density of your ice.
It's also a fantastic way to discipline your children.
Oh, yeah.
I'm gonna leave that one alone. If you have a shaker, you can put your ice in the shaker and shake that up, which is a great rattle for your children. See,
Yes.
I'm a much better father. That's fine. But in this case today, because we're at Crew, and Crew is hella fancy, they have a crushed ice machine, so we're gonna use that. So Jay, 1 scoop of ice
You got it. There.
into it. Now, you know what? Let's do 2. I always forget these mugs are much larger than I always assume. Perfect.
Pretty
Now-
much fill it up to the top.
Now you can see this ice right here comes right up to the top. You know, you get a little there. Pro tip: you can always add a splash of ginger beer onto it before the ice, which is going to help mix it up. We didn't do that here because we kind of just are doing it the same way that you're going to do it at home. So Jay, give this a little pour right on top.
That should do right about there.
There we go. And stir it up using a spoon, your pinky, whatever you got.
Got a spoon.
Pinky stir.
Nice little skull on top.
There we go. And Chad, how are we garnishing this drink today?
We're gonna do a classic lime wheel garnish. So we're gonna grab your second lime there. We should have a cutting board, huh?
Here.
Oh, look at that sacrifice. Just gonna want to kind of start at the end. You get a nice sizable lime wheel there. Just like that. Now, typically, some people might do a little slit and do it on the side, which is fine. I kind of like to just lay it on top there. That way, when you go to take a drink, you get a little waft of that fresh lime, and then followed by the ginger beer, and of course, the wonderful Broken Shed vodka. You want to give that a try? I almost took a sip before you, but
That's
I think
okay.
You made it, and you did all that hard work.
Cheers, everybody.
Any questions from the people at home?
I'm gonna flip the cup around and take another
About
taste.
the Moscow Mule,
Please
or
do.
no?
Traditional mule is one of my favorites.
What I really like the addition of this vodka into this drink, because typically the mule tends to be really spicy, and especially with grain alcohols, it adds that spice. But this being a whey based distillate, it kind of, forgive me, Chad, it kind of smooths everything out in terms of a textural experience.
Yeah.
So it becomes almost silky. And now also, that's really why I really like this vodka in like a martini. I'm not a huge vodka martini person, but every once in a while, like I'm having caviar, I'm having oysters, and I just really, really want one.
I'm coming over to your
It's
house.
been a long time. It's been a long time. I haven't gone out for oysters and whatever, but this is a great vodka for that, because it just like it creates something so silky and so smooth, and like the viscosity that's in there.
I think another really good descriptor would be clean.
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 Hey, man.
I was gonna.
I agree with you.
I had a question as far as I guess the marketing side of Broken Shed. Obviously, there are a plethora of vodkas out there.
Sure.
When bars were open, say, and you're going to go pitch this sell to them, what is something that stands out besides obviously the way, which is a different process of making this vodka? Is there something else that you kind of your go-to?
Yeah.
Maybe it's a cocktail, or maybe it's
Not even a cocktail. There's a couple things that I like to cling on to with this. First, New Zealand, the place. Where we actually source the water is a really important thing, especially when you're talking about a spirit that is 60% water. It does matter where that comes from. And New Zealand is still known for some of the best water in the world. So that definitely helps. My thing that I like to do with this is the viscosity of the vodka actually takes infusions really, really well.
Really nice.
And the viscosity within the vodka provides like texture to those infusions. And so something that I like to do at home with my vodka is I'll just put it into a clean mason jar, and if you have like say watermelon rinds,
Sure.
take all the white pith part off and just put the whole watermelon rind in. Let your kids eat the watermelon. Let it sit in the fridge for 2 or 3 days, and you've got your own naturally flavored watermelon vodka without additional sugar. It's a great way to get rid of food scraps. It's a great way to recycle in a sense because you're doing something with them instead of just throwing them in the food waste. And
Compost.
either way. And so, I think the vodka's texture is something that's really, really nice. Again, you said it has a really nice viscosity, and that does take those infusions really, really well. And that's kind of how I like to approach when I do talk to a bar. It's just that I think infusions have grown over the last few years of people trying to do their own house-made infusions, whether it be at home, behind the bar, etc. Also, if you have something really pretty sitting up on the back bar that has like a lot of fruit or
like an eye grabber.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's something that I think this goes really, really well with as well. And then you could do like your own play on infused Moscow Mules. I mean, vodka's a blank canvas. You could do it with hibiscus, jalapeno. I mean, you can go any different direction that you want with it, which is kind of fun. So that's kind of how I approach it. Is even more than the way, which is unique, but is the water. And then it just does really, really spirit-forward cocktails.
I'm going to make a Mandalorian joke.
Okay.
This is the way.
I do have a shirt coming that says
Nice.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Okay,
let's talk about the history of the Moscow Mule. Some of you may have seen a video that Jordan and I had made a few years ago about the history of the Moscow Mule. I love this cocktail for a couple reasons. A, vodka wasn't really a thing until the prevalence of the Moscow Mule. Moscow Mule is the first time we really see a cocktail being used as a marketing device. It grabs several ingredients that weren't doing well, puts them all together, and all of a sudden it becomes something that's like greater than the sum of its parts. Vodka coming from Russia and then France and then America was not doing well at all as a spirit. I mean, you're looking at Bolshevik Revolution. Americans thought it was for dirty Eastern Europeans and Bolsheviks. Same thing coming from France as the Smirnoff family fled out of Russia and they moved into France. They tried to grow this thing, this distillate that had been doing so well in their country for so long. All of a sudden, nobody wanted it. So they took the recipe, got sold a couple times. Eventually, it got sold to a company called the Hoopline Company. And that company made its mark from selling pre-packaged, ready-to-drink cocktails. So it's exactly what we're going through today, right? They found cocktails that were popular, packaged them, put all the mixers into a bottle, and said, "Okay, take this home. This is all you need." And that's sort of what we see going on today in COVID times, right? It's like all these restaurants, all these bartenders trying to get you to do things at home, exactly what we're doing here today. The difference is that was packaged up, ready to go in grocery stores. We're giving this directly to you. What I find really interesting about Hoopline Company is essentially, Hoogland got split up into different categories. They ended up, they owned Smirnoff, they owned Crown Royal. And so at that point in time, when they broke off and their like ready to drink package became a different entity, the spirit side became what we know of in our industry today as Diageo. And so Diageo owns Johnny Walker, they own George Dickel, they own Crown Royal, they own Smirnoff, they own Guinness. It's this giant company now, but they ultimately ended up starting off as this small company that was making ready-to-drink cocktails. Now, they had bought the rights to Smirnoff in the 1930s. It was not doing well. And the story is John G. Martin was in LA. He was an executive with Hoogland Company, met Jack Morgan, who owned the Cockable restaurant, which I also just found out. Every time I research this story, I find something new out about it, which is kind of cool. Cockable was a chain.
I didn't know that.
At one point in time, I legit thought it was just one restaurant. Turns out there's a restaurant in Pennsylvania that my folks and I used to go to when I was super young. That was a Cock and Bull restaurant. I had no idea, and I used to love going there because it was like this old feeling Tudor place in like this colonial village in Pennsylvania, and it was always this fun little place to go.
There?
I have no clue. But actually, when I was looking for Cock and Bull restaurants, it was the first one to pop up, and I was like, no shit. And I thought the only one that existed was in LA, in Hollywood. Regardless, let's see, Jack Morgan, as the story goes, was dating a woman named Ogeline Schmidt. We don't really have photos of Ogeline Schmidt. We don't really know too much about her. What we do know, though, is that she had inherited a copper goods company, and it was going down the tubes at the same point in time. So she brought out her copper mug. We have Jack Morgan, who was trying to make his English-style ginger beer a thing. And then we have John G. Martin, who was trying to make his vodka thing. And they took all those things and they put them together. Now, that sounds really convenient that all of a sudden that worked out. The reality is there's an old-style cocktail that, or we'll say a formula. And that's what we do here is we give you this formula so you can go forward, called a Buck-style formula. And the Buck, at that point in time, that was super popular just prior to that, was a drink called the Mamie Taylor. And it only lasted for a few years, but it was hugely successful, and it had swept the world. And that was whiskey and ginger beer. It's still popular today. At that point in time, it was a blended Scotch and ginger beer, and so we have different styles of Bucks depending on what goes into it. One of my personal pet peeves is when people call things mules. When the Moscow Mule was really made as a name because it sounded good. It was like good alliteration, and it was a play on a buck. And if you look at the classic copper mug, what you see is a bucking mule. So that way people knew when they were looking at the mule that it was a buck-style drink. It's sort of irritating now because we have all these different iterations of like, oh, this is a mule, no, this is a buck, no, this is a mule.
Everything's a mule now.
Everything's a mule now, right? It's like everything was a cocktail in the 90s. Like, oh, I want an apple cocktail. Oh, I want this cocktail. And bartenders just don't know how to keep up because they don't mean anything. It's just like buzzwords. And it doesn't actually tell you anything about what the ingredients are. But that being said, Chad, you want to make our next drink?
Kentucky Buck?
Let's do it.
I do. Quick, back to the Mamie Taylor little story I read that got me thinking. Apparently, that drink was so popular that bartenders hated making it, which made me think, well, today bartenders hate making mojitos and like things that are like labor intensive, and I'm sitting here like, it's too much to make Scotch, little lime and ginger beer. Like, come on, times have changed. I guess.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, it's like at least here in Sacramento, making white linens all day long, right? Like that's,
Right? I mean,
that actually is labor intensive.
that's nothing. Anyways, our next drink. Any questions about the mule or history or anything pop up yet? No? Quiet crowd, huh? Quiet. It's okay. Keep your secrets. It's all good. So, the Kentucky Buck For what I know, this cocktail was created by Eric Castro, who used to work at Bourbon and Branch, a speakeasy bar in San Francisco, California, around 2009, kind of right when the craft cocktail movement was really starting to roll out, and it was kind of a blank canvas, and it's hard to make a drink nowadays because everything's been freaking thought of, right? But yeah, he did that drink 2009 in San Francisco. Eric Castro, great guy. He's doing good stuff down in San Diego now. So anyways, Kentucky Buck. You'll start with our glass here. Make sure we have all our mise en place. Get your dehydrated strawberries, your lemon, your strawberry preserved jam, and you're gonna use a tiny bit of your Angostura Bitters. And then for this one, we are going to use that mysterious bottle of bourbon that you guys have in your kit here. So we're gonna just do this one. I think I'm gonna do this one a little bit in the shaker. So if you have anything, shaker kit at home, a couple of pint glasses, you can just roll it around a little bit. But since we have these tools in front of us, I'm gonna start with this. Alrighty, let's start with our lemon. If you have a peeler or a knife, you want to get a nice peel as part of our garnish towards the end of the drink. So we're gonna peel that off there. Wasn't the greatest one, but we'll roll with it.
And if you don't have a peeler, you can use a knife, right? And like just peel down the side. The trick is either keeping your hands away and setting it down, or holding the knife in one spot and twisting the lemon. That's going to be a big difference for you. Don't let the knife do its own work, and then use your muscles on the lemon instead, so you're not moving the knife around, because that's the easiest way to cut yourself.
Right. So we're going to cut that guy right in half. Do the old squeeze method. And we're looking for about 0.75 ounces of lemon juice. And this is a real nice juicy lemon, so we're going to just go ahead in there. Like that, discard that. And then you're going to get your bottle of bitters. And if you have a measuring cup or something to kind of measure it out, it's supposed to be a few dashes. But we're just going to do just a tiny bit here to kind of equal that out.
I love Angostura Bitters. We'll get into it more. But it's essentially the godfather of bitters now. I mean,
and they just came out with the chocolate one, so let's see what that one's. And if you're wondering why I added bitters and it's not on the card, that's just because what I like to do. That's actually the recipe I remember, and I was kind of just in my natural mode, so forgive me. But it's not going to hurt the cocktail at all. It's actually going to make it delicious. We're going to get your spoon and just try to get a nice spoonful of your strawberry preserve here. It smells wonderful. Come on now.
Chad made this, everybody, just so you know.
I did make this. I wanted to give something a little personal and some creative. So
a little ode to Chad.
Yeah, quick rundown on preserves. If you want just a natural preserve that you plan on using frequently, I pretty much cut down some strawberries, did a little bit of lemon zest in a pot, white sugar, a little lemon juice, tiny bit of water. You pretty much mix it all down and cook it down, reduce it, and it'll start getting thick. And then you, in clean cans, can it, put it in the fridge, and you're ready to rock. That was a fun experiment there. So we got our lemon juice, we got our additional bitters. We're gonna get our bourbon in there next.
Now that's exactly 2 ounces, so you can just dump that right in.
Exactly 2 ounces.
Pre-measured for you.
That makes it easy. Again, you can do this in the shaker or build it in the glass. I just wanted to give it a quick little shake because I can't help myself.
Now, when shaking, we've touched on this before.
Yes.
Shaking helps with dilution and aeration. What you're looking for is that infusion of oxygen into the drink actually helps sort of what bartenders like to call bring it alive. It wakes it up, right? So that's why sometimes you hear old school bartenders talk about consuming a drink while it's awake, before it falls asleep, or before it dies. That's exactly what they mean. They don't want it to warm up too much because that oxygen hasn't fully infused, but it's in the drink, so it gives a different sensation. As that leaves, it creates a different experience, which is why we stir sometimes versus shaking. We'll get into that more and more as we go along.
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful. So we're gonna strain that out, and I double strained it because I did not try to catch the seeds originally, so that'll save us a step. Now, to get a little more incorporated with the ginger beer, I'm gonna do a little ginger beer on top there, get some ice. There you go. Going back to the lemon peel I did earlier, I'm just gonna kind of give it a squeeze. We're gonna release the oils there. It's gonna give it a nice lemon aroma. I'm just gonna plop that on top. We're gonna get our strawberries. I got my fancy little tweezers here, so I'm gonna use those. Maybe.
I wouldn't call those little tweezers.
And then I'm just gonna put them on top there. I gave you about 3 or 4, a little extra.
Size matters, guys.
Yeah.
I don't care what they say. Right, Chad?
Put it right there. That's right. So, there we go. Kentucky Buck with my own twists. Because I wasn't paying attention, but that's all good.
I love that.
Fly by the seat of our pants here.
What do you find when you're using dehydrated ingredients? I know we use them because they preserve better. It makes it easier for us to ship them, give them to you, so we don't have something going bad. But when you're using something dehydrated, like dehydrated strawberries, what do you find you get out of them?
Well, obviously, like you said, preserving. I think the aroma comes out more once you get them all dried and you put them, seal them in a jar. I don't know. It kind of just collects and builds up there. And sometimes you can kind of manipulate how it looks. Pretty much did a straightforward slice, but if you wanted to, you can play around with how it looks and kind of get more creative side on garnishing. Another fruit that's fun is pineapple. So I won't go too much into this, but if I were to make a pineapple syrup, I might blend that with a simple sort of base, and then all that extra fiber that you'd usually discard, dehydrate that, flatten it out, and you essentially have a pineapple fruit roll-up.
Yeah,
natural. And you can make it a straw. You can make it however you want. So dehydrating is fun. Saves a lot of waste.
Have you made fruit roll-ups yet? I still haven't done it. I mean, I've been playing with my dehydrator for a long time, and it's just I haven't made that leap yet. And I say it's a leap because in my head it seems hard, but you just described it. I was like, yeah, that's all I need to do. And
yeah, I mean, I kind of did it in a way without going for a fruit roll-up. I was doing a ginger apple syrup, and I did all the scraps of that. I dried that out, and I just made those into a little chip for a garnish.
Oh, great.
But I could have easily, just roll it up, and it's just how you cut it and stuff, I guess. So
yeah,
dehydration. Get the dehydrator. You can get a pretty decent one for affordable price.
I mean, we actually have one going behind us right now.
Yeah.
Crew's making it work.
We're probably dehydrating some dope fish or something.
Dope fish. Damn, that's good. I love
fish.
that damn drink. At Red Rabbit, we had a drink called the what was it called? Damn it.
Yep.
Something Buck, obviously. It was a seasonal Buck.
Is it the apple one?
But so what we did with this drink is the essence of the drink always stayed the same. It always had bourbon, always had a little bit of lemon juice, and it was always topped off with ginger beer. What changed it seasonally was the jams that we would use.
Oh, nice.
And so it kept the drink on our menu year round.
Yeah.
It was something the bartenders always knew how to play with. Literally the only thing that changed every day was okay, well, here's your jam for the day, or here's your jam for the week, depending on how much the kitchen made.
Yeah.
Which, of course, it then included the kitchen into into what we did behind the bar, which made them feel special.
Yeah, it's always good.
You got to make sure the kitchen feels special. Their egos are really fragile, and so you gotta just bring them along with you, right? Because otherwise they get mad. They start screaming at the waitresses. They start. I'm going off on a tangent. Sorry, guys.
Back in the day, the restaurant world. So, Chris, what do you call a bear with no teeth? Just kidding. Chris is gonna take it away.
I am really excited about this drink. This drink is my interpretation of someone else's interpretation of a classic drink. One of the things that I've always loved to do as a bartender is play with ingredients and use them in a way that people wouldn't normally use them. So taking ingredients that usually get used as dashes and using them as the source ingredient. So this drink is exactly that. I mean, typically Angostura Bitters is something that gets used literally as like at most in like 6 dashes, and that's extreme when you see that in a cocktail. So a buddy of mine out of Portland, his name is Jeff Morgenthaler. He's written a couple books, written a couple blogs, whatever, it's fine. He made this drink called the Angostura Collins. I was like, that's really cool. He inspired me with this because he did the same thing that I do, which is take an ingredient that nobody uses in that volume, and he tweaked it. The difference, though, was I felt that the drink that he made, sorry, Jeff, was a little weak. Like, it didn't have enough character. It just, like, it was sort of flat. It didn't come through enough. I wanted so much more out of it. So I played around with the ingredients, and I played around with the methodology. And this is the drink that I came up with. So I really hope you guys enjoy this. It is a little bit of a mind fuck in there, like it just because you're using things that you wouldn't normally use. Now let's talk about Angostura Bitters. Angostura Bitters is old school bitters, typically to be considered a bitters in the United States. It has to be it's usually made with alcohol. In fact, I don't think there's a single non-alcohol bitter on the market. Typically, people think Fee Brothers is non-alcoholic. It is not. It 100% has booze in it. It just also has a lot of glycerin in it as well. So a lot of bartenders are under the sort of like the misinformation that it is a glycerin-based. It is, in fact, not. It has a lot of booze in it. So careful. That being said, Angostura Bitters, no one knows exactly what's in it. It's been reverse engineered a few times. I mean, obviously the people who make it know what's in it. It's been reverse engineered a few times. We have a few ideas of kind of what goes into it. There is definitely Angostura bark, where it gets the name, in this. There's cinchona, there's probably some clove, there's probably some sort of like black leaf that also goes into it. Bitters are typically bitter root and like herbaceous ingredients that go into it that then sit for a while. There's different methodologies into like either it's cooked or it's cold infused, so on and so forth. There's a great book about bitters simply called Bitters. I strongly suggest if this is something that intrigues you, look at it. It's hands down the best one that I've ever found, and it's a really easy read.
What's the
Leon in the chat mentioned that the cocktail at Rabbit was the Buck Hunter.
The Buck Hunter, Leon coming through. The cocktail at Red Rabbit was called the Buck Hunter. Thank you, Leon. I appreciate that. Typically, the base is either NGS, which is neutral grain spirit, or rum. Sometimes you find it with a grape base. Every base spirit offers its own complexity to to whatever this is in the bitters. Oh, what I forgot to mention though is to be classified as a bitters or like a food ingredient, a food additive. Bitters typically are not considered alcohol products, even though they're made from alcohol, and it's specifically because they're considered non-potable. They don't taste good enough to drink on their own is sort of the defining characteristic of bitters. What I found though is that I love drinking Angostura bitters.
Crazy bartenders.
Yeah, I like insane things. Like it's 100 proof. It packs a punch. Pardon me. It is full of flavor. It is dope. I'm all about this, and that makes me twisted, and that's okay. I'm into it.
I remember when I was offered my first shot of Ango, and I really thought I was gonna hate it. But you know what? It's not bad.
It's not bad.
Not bad.
Pretty damn good. There is a story of Brad Peters and I and the Reno girls in Austin, Texas, going from dive bar to dive bar, drinking Angostura Bitters, and we, for whatever reason, had come ill-equipped with small bills. And so all we had were hundreds. And so all these like old, grimy, dusty, like dive bar bartenders in Austin, Texas.
Yeah, like how the hell do I charge
Like
you?
what, like asking us for, like clearing them out of their Angostura bitters, of which they have to like go into the back because they've almost never used it at that point in time.
Anyway.
Paying with $100 bills, they're like, "Who the fuck are you guys?" Man, that's crazy California bartenders. Sorry. Okay. I know. Let's make this drink. I've got my orgeat here. We're going to use a half an ounce of orgeat. We're going to put that right in the bottom. All right. Now, we've got a little bit of lemon juice. You'll notice that I'm building this in a little bit of a strange order, and you'll see why at the end. Typically, when you're making a drink, let's say professionally, the methodology is that you start making a drink with the least expensive ingredients first. That way, if something goes wrong, you just dump it out and it's no big deal. I was not trained that way, and Chad, I don't think you were trained that way.
Wasn't trained.
Yeah, Chad wasn't trained at all. So
From the
there you
streets.
go. And so you should definitely do as we say and not do as we do, because it's hard to break bad habits, essentially. Lemon juice. We're going to put that right in here. Now I'm going to use my knife in there. We're just going to squeeze that out. We're going to get as much of the juice out as we can. Don't worry if you're getting seeds in this one, because it's going on crushed ice, and it shouldn't really be a problem.
I'm just gonna keep them down there.
Yeah, it's going to keep it
them
down.
down.
All right, we've got our ginger beer. We've got our orgeat. Sorry, no ginger beer. We've got our orgeat. We've got our lemon juice. We're going to add just a splash of ginger beer. We're not going to fill by any means. We're going to need a splash just to get it mixing. Whoop. That was like a glug and a half if you're keeping track. All right, and a little bit of vodka, because what vodka does, and it's the same reason that chefs will use vodka instead of water, is it binds flavors. So it takes your flavors and it connects them all together more quickly than cooking them or shaking them. It's a chemical process that it happens, which makes vodka also really great for using in cocktails for that reason. So we're going to use a half ounce of vodka right in there. Boop, 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 boop. Now, I'm going to add crushed ice or ice on top of this. If you have crushed ice at home, by all means, go ahead and use it. It just kind of makes this a little bit more exciting. What we end up with when we do our 1 ounce of Ango right on here. Oh, yeah. Make no mistake, I'm drinking the rest of this later. Is we get this awesome floated experience that we're going to just top off with our ginger beer on top to dilute it. I'm going to take our ginger ninja. Now let's talk about a little bit of garnishing technique. We have two Gingers. Everyone's got 2 gingers, right? Everyone's got 2 gingers. Okay. So we're gonna take our pick and we're gonna put it right between. We're gonna shove it right between both. Yeah. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna drop it on either side of our glass, so the way it holds up, so it doesn't sink inside, so it looks nice. And if you happen to have a little bit more of lemon zest, you just put that right on top, just like that. And a little squeezy. I'm gonna put that on the side, also. There we go. We got our Angostura Buck. What I like about this drink is, the vodka pulls all the flavors together. So you don't need to shake it. It really it creates a cohesive experience. The term I like to use is called like next day soup, right? It's like when your soup cooks, it's dope the first day, but if you let it cool down, you stick it in the fridge, you pull it out the next day, and then you cook it again, you warm it up, all those flavors come together and so good. That's sort of what vodka does for cocktails. Salt does the same thing, sugar does the same thing, so don't be afraid of those ingredients. Obviously, everything gets used in proportion. The Angostura, in this case, is getting used in a way that it never would be used, right? You're using it instead of dashes, you're using it as pours. We're using a little bit of orgeat because that nuttiness really sort of rounds everything out as well. And then the ginger spikes it right back up. So you have this confluence of flavor profiles that really come together and create something truly special.
Yeah.
I don't think you've ever had this drink, have you?
I have not had your version, no.
All right, so I'm going to take this. I'm going to give it a little mix just because we want it all. When we drink it, it's nice to serve it, having it look a little different.
It looks great.
You look great.
Oh,
Holy shit, that's wonderful. Okay.
very beautiful.
Be careful with Angostura, though. It will stain. So you don't want it to get all over you. You don't want it all over, like if you have wood or anything that's not sealed. You definitely want to wipe that up.
Yeah, good thing I wore a white shirt. That's what you had to make this drink.
Jake, you want to taste this?
Heck yeah.
Come on in,
Sounds
man.
great.
Give that a shot.
Like shoot the whole thing?
Right back.
Hey, YOLO, right? Oh yeah.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, it's like it's this. Even though it's made with bitters, it's not overly bitter in any way. Like the sugar sort of rounds it out.
If I wasn't bartending and you're like, oh, I'm gonna take these ingredients and put them together, I'd be like, that doesn't sound very well. But even with my bar experience, that much bitters, you're like, ugh. But the orgeat, bitters, the ginger beer, lemon, they're just like that perfect combo, balance, tart, just enough. That bite from the bitters is really good.
It comes out more fruity than I think you would expect.
Yeah, maybe that combination of the orgeat and the bitters. Like,
Definitely. Well, and the vodka addition in there really rounds things out, right? Like because it marries all those flavors, which makes it. That's all you, man. By all means, that's yours. The only thing I want is a candied ginger, so we're good.
Touche.
Woohoo! Does anybody have any questions out there? Jake, you have any questions about our methodology, about what's going on?
I'm sorry, I missed it. Did you explain to people what orgeat was?
We did not. So orgeat is an almond extract syrup. There's every orgeat is a little bit different. This one we used was forgive me, it's Tarani.
Yeah.
Right. It's like what you typically see in like coffee houses in the 90s, or at least that's what I saw at coffee houses in the 90s.
Yeah. It's cost effective.
Yeah. It's sweet. It's syrupy. It still carries that like almondy flavor. This which works great in this particular drink because that syrup is something that we really want. I really like Small Hands. It is one of my favorites.
It's a very good one.
Liquid Alchemy is also a really lovely orgeat. And they all do something a little bit different to get that experience across.
You can even make your own orgeat.
You can always make your own orgeat. which
little
is
labor intensive.
it's really labor intensive, and it's one of those that I feel everybody should do once, so that way you can appreciate
All the work that goes
all the
into it.
work that goes into
Not doing that again.
actually buying a good one.
I had a cocktail on a menu when I was helping run restaurants. And we made a sweet potato orgeat
Fascinating.
for our play on
Now, did you make it with almonds, or did you use some other nut component?
cashews, actually.
Cashews. See, I
Cashews
imagine
and
it'd be
sweet
great.
potato
Yeah.
together.
So is anybody local making orgeat with the blue diamond almonds? I mean, that kind of makes sense. Did
I don't know. I don't know if it
Don't
does.
take our ideas. Scratch that last part. I didn't say anything about that.
We should look into that.
Yeah,
Definitely.
Fluid concepts.
Trademark. TF.
trademark. Got it.
Fluid concepts branded orgeat.
That's right. Well, man, I had a great time. Thank you to Crew.
Thank
Yes,
you, crew.
thank you, crew.
Jay,
Thank you.
thanks, homie. I
for
appreciate
hanging out, boys.
partnering on
Appreciate it,
this.
bud.
This is a lot of
Yeah.
fun.
Cool.
Thanks everybody who got a kit. And keep your eye out for some more content. Just to keep your eye on our Instagram page at We Are Fluid Concepts. Same with the Facebook. And kind of like Chris mentioned early on, we're gonna just try to build that content. We're switching over to YouTube now for a lot of our live stuff, so it's real exciting to.
Yeah,
kinda
we're gonna
just
take
build it
a half a beat. So we won't be putting out our next box just yet, because we really want to dial in a few things that we don't think that we come quite as strong with. So we really want to give you a great product, and make things really simple for you in the long run. So we're gonna take half a beat, but don't worry. We're coming back really strong, and with some really fun new boxes and great cocktails. We really want to give you sort of that fully immersive experience, just like we did today, of going from a classic cocktail with history, wrapping all the way through to some contemporary cocktails and doing things that you wouldn't normally do or even think to do, and really getting to dive into the sort of psychosis that is Chad and mine's brain.
Yeah, it's like tall grass.
You just gotta.
You can't fight it. You
You
just gotta
gotta
go through
cut
it.
down layer by layer.
So
in a good way. Tall
you're
grass
saying
in a good
that fluid concept is kind of like an onion. There's layers.
We are very layered and
we're
very
very
stinky,
much-
and we often make people cry.
Yeah, that's
That should be your new slogan.
the onion of the bar.
That's it.
Fluid concepts, the onion of the bar world. I like it.
All right, guys. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody.
Do we have any questions, Jordan?
No questions. A couple people were wondering about the orgeat, but I think you guys covered that very thoroughly, so I think we're good.
Awesome.
Thanks so much, everyone.
Great. Thank you, everybody. You have a
Thank
great
you.
night. We'll see you very soon.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, crew. Jay, thank you, homie.
Thanks, Jay.
buddy. Love me on the couch.
J Crew.
Jay Crew.
Thank you.